John Cullen with GrowingYourGreens.com to another exciting episode for you, and happy spring to all my viewers out there. It's now officially springtime, and I don't know where in the world you guys are, but hopefully where you guys are, it's as nice as it is here in the springtime. You know, and there's pros and cons to the nice weather here. I mean, I'm out here in a nice t-shirt today. It's in the 70s. A couple days ago it was in the 80s. It's kind of insane, the warm spring. And I know some of you guys are having some warm days and some cold days again. And you know, I would like to say that that kind of really messes up my plants a little bit due to the fluctuations in the temperatures and the weather. Maybe a warmer day, a cooler day. Some of my plants are tripping. Like, they're tripping seriously. They're tripping hard. Not because there's weeds growing next to them, but because of the weather. So some of them are bolting kind of early, prematurely. We've got the brassica bed here, like growing really well. Been harvesting leaves off that like almost every day to juice, actually. Then behind me on this side here, we got my lettuce bed. Lettuce, it's been a bit warm for the lettuce now, so some of the lettuce is going to bolting. So I'm using as much as I possibly can of that like every day in my dinner. But aside just from my brassica and lettuce bed, I have so many other different things growing today. And what I thought I'd do in this episode for you guys is actually share with you guys one of my favorite ways to use any of my greens, whether that's lettuce or, you know, brassica family of kale, collards, broccoli leaves, cauliflower leaves, or any other leafy green in my garden for that matter. My favorite thing to do is make a green smoothie, a superfood green smoothie coming out of my backyard, plus some other certain key ingredients to make it taste good and really nutritious. Anyways, I guess let's go ahead and take a little harvest bowl around the yard here. And I'm going to harvest at least a half a pound of different greens in my garden to make a delicious green superfood smoothie. So this time of year, especially in the spring, that's when I really have lots of delicious greens growing in my channel. It's called Growing Your Greens because I want you guys to grow, and not only just grow your greens, but eat your leafy green vegetables as well. To me, they're some of the most important food on the entire planet, and unfortunately most Americans simply do not eat enough of them. My goal every day is to eat 2 pounds of leafy greens, and with all this green material in my garden, literally unlimited, never-ending supply, I could do that really easily. So I'm just sitting here, man, and I'm smelling the mint. It's wafting, and I got some chocolate mint in this little container right here. But I'm not going to be harvesting that yet. What we're going to be harvesting are a few uncommon greens that you may not be familiar with, right? And you know, one of the things I strive to do in my diet and in my life every day is to get variety of everything except women. I only have one of those. But I want you guys to have variety too in your diet as well, and especially in your garden too, because I mean, having a diverse diet, having a diverse garden ensures that you're going to have a higher level of crop success. Maybe you plant all kale, and all your kale fails because you got some kind of bug that affects your kale. Well, I got kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, tatsoi, strawberry spinach, ornamental kale, tree collards, parsley, arugula, wild arugula, dandelion. I got so many different things growing, so even if bugs get one thing right, I'm still going to have like at least 20 other things that the bugs are not getting. So I'm always going to have something to eat, right? You know, growing or something growing. And then consequently, I will always have something to eat and something different to eat. You know, as much as kale is a new superfood and everybody likes kale, right? I want to encourage you guys to eat a diversity of different greens, because every different green, leafy green vegetable has different properties in there. You know, the lettuce family of plants is different than the brassica family of plants, which is different than the spinach family of plants, is what I'm going to be harvesting. So every day I make it a point in my mind to like, okay, John, yesterday you ate something out of the lettuce family or your lettuce. Let's eat the broccoli family today. Hey, the next day let's eat something totally different that's not related to any of those guys. So that's what I'm doing today. I had like lettuce yesterday, broccoli the day before, and I'm going to be you know, harvesting some of these guys, and we'll give you guys a close-up on this as I'm harvesting. But what I'm going to be harvesting right now is actually the strawberry spinach. The strawberry spinach is in a Chenopodium family of plants. It's related to like the lamb's quarters. I like it a little bit better because it stays a lot more controllable. It doesn't bolt as quickly, and it makes nice, delicious greens that I find actually have a nice, agreeable flavor. Now, aside from just the greens that I'll be personally harvesting, which pretty much look like this, they make these little spinach, or they make these little strawberries, or like little berry things. They look like berries, they're like mostly all seeds, and they're red. They look cool. They don't taste that great, but they're cool nonetheless. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and first harvest a bunch of these strawberry spinach for my superfood smoothies. All right, now I'll be harvesting some of these greens here, and as you guys can see, like this plant looks pretty nice. Basically, what I'm going to come into is I'm just going to go ahead and come in and pull off all like the large leaves, right? And you know, this is one of the reasons why I plant many different plants. You can see I have like, you know, the ornamental kale, strawberry spinach, ornamental kale, all spaced around. So I have so many different plants. And actually, this for some reason, this strawberry spinach plant right here looks like it's doing the best. It's kind of like in a little bit of a shade from my tree collards above. Now you see the tree collards get nice and big and the leaves are nice and big. They weigh a lot compared to like one little small leaf of this guy. And that's why I like, especially on some of these more wild food plants, such as these, I plant many of them just to get a bunch of food. So as you guys can see, as you're sitting there watching, and I'm sitting here harvesting, I've picked this back significantly. You know, it's nice and lush. Picked it back pretty good. I'm probably good on that one. We're gonna go around to some of the other plants. And that one had the most greenery to pick, so I probably picked it, you know, maybe, I don't know, estimate 30, I don't know, like usually harvest more than 50% of the whole plant's leaf area. I'd like to do maybe around 33%. So we're just going to go ahead and harvest some more of these leaves on every different plant. So maybe a few leaves off every strawberry spinach plant in here until we have a nice little collection. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to the next green we'll be harvesting. Alright, so as you guys can see, I'm about done harvesting some of the strawberry spinach leaves. You know, and that's one of the things, you know, some of these more wild type foods, which I would encourage you guys to get more into your diet, they're really more nutritious than some of the common, more hybridized varieties. But also the leaves are a lot smaller, so they're a lot more delicate. So I mean, you'll probably never find these in commercial trade, so if you want the nutrients in here, you'll probably have to grow them yourself. Didn't take me that long to harvest them, and even though I harvested a, you know, nice sized bowl here, looks like there's still lots more leaf mass left to grow. I left a lot of the smaller leaves to grow a lot larger. I kind of get lazy and I just want to harvest like the super big leaves off every plant, and if it's still pretty small, you know, I'll leave a lot of leaves on there for it to grow larger. And you know what? They're not going anywhere. I'm going to come back and harvest them maybe in another couple weeks. Next, let's go ahead and move next door and show you guys another green I'll be harvesting. One that most of you guys don't even like touching. So the next green that I'll be harvesting is actually sitting in this bed, and it's, I didn't necessarily plant it. It's been coming back year after year. I might have planted it unintentionally one year, but that's all right. What was intentionally planted in here were things like kale and dinosaur kale and some broccoli and whatnot. And some of those have been having some challenges, bolting a bit earlier, so I've topped them off, deadheaded them. But nonetheless, also in this bed, aside from the target plants that I planted, every year this time, especially spring, these guys come up. And what these guys are, these are the stinging nettles. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take the scissors, and I like to come off and just like clip off the top section of the stinging nettles right here. So I got the young baby growth and some of the younger leaves, some of the older leaves stay on there. I like to basically just come in and harvest the tops. So I'll come in and I'll harvest like all the different tops off my stinging nettles, off every single plant. This will do two things. Number one, this will encourage it to grow more, because it'll be got cut, it'll split from one stalk into two stalks, so I'll have more stalks to harvest in just a couple months, because every time I harvest, I just come off and clip the tops off, some of the most tender leaves and some of the best tasting. And yeah, I mean, my skin's kind of hardened because I've been doing this so much, and I'm not super affected by the stingers. How I try to do it is I try to take a scissors, try to come gently to the tops, grab one, and then kind of just snip it and pull it up very carefully, and then just put it in my bowl. I mean, I haven't gotten stung yet today. Maybe I'll get something a little bit by the end, but I don't really care. It all just wears off. And you know, as they say, whatever doesn't take you out makes you stronger. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and harvest some more of these stinging nettles here, and then we're gonna come back at you with my last leafy green I'll be harvesting today for my smoothie. All right, so I think I'm about done harvesting the stinging nettles. Got that many today. I'm not gonna pick them up to show you, but maybe like 2 dozen, 3 dozen, you know, tops of the stinging nettles. These probably, I'm harvesting probably a bit younger. Probably could have like let them go another week or two. They would have been a really nice size, but I couldn't wait. I love this smoothie so much, and I love when I get to eat my fresh grown stinging nettles. And I want you guys to value your stinging nettles. You know, although they sting you and all this kind of stuff, right? If you go buy dried stinging nettles at the health food store, in the herb section that could be $15, $20 a pound for dried stinging nettles. They're a very nutritious food, and I think that more people should be growing them, and more gardeners should be growing them as well. And we should be eating them. And you know, especially if it's important. I mean, I have them mixed in with my raised bed. I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend you guys to do that, because they are kind of a weed. Every year they just keep coming back. The roots stay alive underneath the ground. But I would encourage you guys to use one of the least desirable areas in your yard to grow stinging nettles, especially an area maybe in the front yard that you get, you know, dogs and things walking by and pooping on your lawn. You don't want them? Grow the stinging nettles there. Let me tell you, dogs and animals and people will not be walking there touching your stinging nettles, because they're going to get stung. Or if you have a shady spot in the backyard somewhere, right underneath some trees, who cares? Throw the stinging nettle seeds out there and grow them, and let them just be, and they'll provide you an amazing source of highly nutritious food for you guys to eat. So now that I've been done harvesting 2 different leafy greens, we're going to go ahead and get into harvesting some herbs. You know, as much as herbs are known as herbs used for flavoring and whatnot, to me they're just another leafy green, and I want you guys to include them, you know, copious amounts in your diet. For example, cilantro and parsley are often thought of as an herb, but I just use them as vegetables. I'll make a whole salad out of parsley or cilantro, especially this time of year when I got so much growing. I think maybe I'll do that tonight for dinner, to eat something even different than all the other meals I've been having. But here's another herb that you guys could be growing that grows really easy. It could actually be quite invasive, so you might want to segregate it out and not plant it amongst your other vegetables, but maybe have a special container or pot for it. I personally didn't really care. I just want to plant it here and just have it keep reproducing and keep make more, because to me it's a food, and if it gets out of control and I have too much, guess what? I'm going to harvest it and eat it all. Plus I have neighborhood cats that may also like this one. This is actually known as the catmint, or catnip for cats. But yeah, this is also edible for us, and actually many people don't know this, but it's actually one of the highest sources of selenium aside for a leafy green vegetable, and you know, even almost not quite as high, but probably, you know, second or third place after Brazil nuts. And we know Brazil nuts are high in selenium, so that's why I like to include the cat mint in my smoothie, and I'm growing it. So I don't know if you guys can see, but it went to flower. This is the original planting I planted last year. I think this is the original planting. It went to flower and seed, and now I have all these little cat mint plants coming up. But once again, on harvesting them, I like to come and just get the main tips. So much like on the stinging nettles, I'll just harvest the main tips and just trim them off like that. There are hairs on here, but they don't sting you like the stinging nettles. And I'll just come around to each of the flowering tops. And you know, this is what I really like about the spring, because you know, when the weather just starts warming up, the plant growth is like at its peak, and it's really like putting on new growth, and this growth is nice and tender and delicious. So it's my favorite time to be harvesting all this stuff here in my garden. So sometimes I'll make these smoothies like several times a week, like I'm making for you. I guess right now I gotta go ahead and harvest more of this catmint. Alright, so I'm just about done harvesting all my catmint for today. I don't know, I got like several large handfuls, and I want to encourage you guys to take the time to stop and smell the roses. I mean, take your time and stop and smell the mint or the herbs in your garden. I mean, I'm just harvesting this stuff, and on my hands now I get like it's a nice minty aroma, and to me it's almost like making me high, or like it's like calming and soothing. Just like it's like this is like nature's essential oils. You know, they have aromatherapy. This is nature's aromatherapy. And if I was a cat, I might be going crazy right now. But even just being a human, man, the smells of the garden, the plants are simply amazing. So I want you guys to take the time to sniff and smell sometimes, or scratch and sniff. It's so good for you. All right, so now I'm down to the last green that I'll be harvesting today for my superfood smoothie, and it's right here. This is actually all my mint. This is a standard spearmint, and what I like to do once again is just come to the plant, and I just like to pinch off the top section of all the nice leaves that aren't damaged, have no bug holes, and are more importantly nice deep green. You know, I have mint coming up in several different places. This I didn't actually grow. I didn't even plant this here. It just kind of came up, so it kind of keeps spreading out, and I kind of keep always a little patch. But I got patches coming up elsewheres, so I think as soon as this planting season is going to be starting, I'm going to be ripping this up and actually planting more desirable plants. Because once again, you know, mint is something that I think every gardener should have. but put it in your least desirable spot, a spot that you don't care if the mint gets to take over. And if you don't have any spots like that, grow it in a container by all means. All right, so now I move to another bed that has a lot more mint growing, and once again, I didn't plant this stuff, it's just kind of been taken over, but this mint actually looks a lot healthier than the other stuff. It's obvious that this bed is getting a little more water than the other place. So the mint's actually a lot greener and the leaves are a lot darker. Now, you know, I want to stop there and talk about like growth habits and growing different herbs and vegetables and things, right? Under different growing conditions, there'll be different levels of phytonutrients and phytochemicals in the plant, right? The phytonutrients and phytochemicals in the plants, which is what we call it, but to the plant, it's basically just plant metabolites. It's chemicals they make in their little plant factories to protect them from the weather, from the sun, from bugs, from pests. And under more drought-like conditions in general, plants will produce higher levels of some of these beneficial antioxidant compounds and other compounds because the plant will sense that it needs to, you know, ramp up its defenses. So that's why I like harvesting in different areas of my yard. Also, you notice the flavors will sometimes taste different. You know, if it's like more dry grown mint versus you know, more wet grown like this. And what's better? I would encourage you guys to experiment and do both. You know, so that's why I always like to grow different things or the same plants in different parts of my yard. So I have you know, big varieties of flavors and profiles and nutrients, more importantly. And the other thing I want to talk about, you know, as much as my channel is called Growing Your Greens, and I want you guys to eat your greens, I want you guys to remember that herbs are just another green too that can be eaten. And especially of all the greens out there, I would encourage you guys to eat more herbs. Herbs are some of the highest known antioxidant containing foods on the entire planet. You know, like oregano leaves are super high in antioxidants. You know, some of the different other herbs are super high in antioxidants. So whether you got, you know, you're growing your own cinnamon trees or whatever, right? Grow some more herbs and include them regularly in your diet. Your body will definitely thank you for it. I think we're going to go ahead and harvest a little bit more of this mint. Then we're going to go ahead and get inside, and we're going to rinse all this stuff off. Then we're going to come back at you and make my delicious superfood smoothie. So now I'm inside. I got all my greens washed up here. Nice big large bowl of the greens. I think it's just pretty much a mix of greens. I mean, I got a good percentage of mint and some stinging nettles. Yeah, just a big mixture. And that's the thing. You don't have to do the exact same recipe, right? Overall, this general recipe, which is coconut water, bananas, some probiotic powders, and some green powders with some date sugar, will work with any green you guys have in your garden. You don't need these. I would encourage you guys, though, to put a good percentage of mint in there because it makes it nice banana minty, and especially, I guess, we had St. Patrick's Day. It's a nice green smoothie. So anyways, let me go ahead and show you guys how to do this. We have a NutriBullet, but you could use any blender. I do like high-power blenders in general. They tend to do better. So the first step is we need to blend up the bananas. So we got frozen bananas here. I like the texture of the frozen bananas because it makes more like a vanilla milkshake when you're done. And then we got one coconut water. So I'm using a C2O pure organic coconut water. This is a HPP. So we're going to put a bunch of that coconut water in there. Maybe not quite all of it. And then now we're going to blend this up. So I like to blend up first the bananas with the coconut water before I actually add all the other things, because the frozen bananas are the hardest to blend up, and if we put all our greens in there earlier than we need to, we're going to do excessive blending damage or oxidize some of the nutrients in the greens. So once we got this in there, let's go ahead and blend this guy up. Alright, so now that we got the bananas blended up really nice and thick and creamy, look at that, man. It won't even come down because it's so thick in there. Tap that down a little bit. I mean, and just overall, just coconut water and bananas just makes an amazing smoothie as it is. Alright, there we go. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in a few more things aside from the greens I picked. I want to encourage you guys to have a diversity in not only your garden, but also in your diet, right? So I want to add other things that I may not be growing. Of course, I would also love to grow some of these foods, which you guys could. So the first thing I'm going to add to my smoothie is matcha tea powder. You could grow some Camellia sinensis, which I have grown in the past, which is actually the tea plant, and use your tea leaves, whole tea leaves in here. I'm not currently growing any, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of the tea powder in there. And once again, you know, every different plant has different phytonutrients and phytochemicals, and I think there's some EGCG or something, some good stuff in the tea. Next, we're going to go ahead and add some probiotic powder here. That gives it a nice flavor, plus lots of beneficial bacteria in there. So I like to add a lot of that stuff in there. And that's the DDS Plus Probiotics. Next, we're going to go ahead and add my favorite green food. So this is what I like to take when I'm traveling, when I don't have my garden. Basically, the Vitamin Mineral Green has a whole number of different kinds of green juices and green foods and algae and spirulina and ocean seaweeds and enzymes and beneficial probiotics. So we're going to go ahead and put a bunch of this stuff in there. Of course, next we're going to go ahead and add, this is an optional step, you may not need this depending on you guys, but sometimes I like to add some additional date sugar. Now, date sugar is unlike any other sugar on the total market, right? A lot of sugars, white sugar, brown sugar, you know, evaporated cane sugar, Rapidura, so many different sweeteners out there, coconut nectar, agave, all these things. I'm not a big fan of extracted sweeteners because when you start basically extracting nutrients such as the sugar from the food, you're losing a lot of the other nutrients that should have been in the food in the first place. So for example, I'd much rather drink sugarcane juice than have extracted, you know, sugar in some white crystals. You're losing a lot of the nutrients in there. That being said, the reason why I like the date sugar is because the date sugar is not just extracted sugar from the dates, it's just actually whole ground, dried, powdered dates. So it's a whole food. So this, you're gonna get all the fiber and all the other phytonutrients and phytochemicals with the dates as well. So I mean, if you can't get date sugar, that's all right. You could just put some whole dates in there because that's pretty much the same thing. The date sugar is just a little bit more broken down. So once we got a lot of that stuff in there, and that's gonna be good, you know, especially if you guys have kids, you might wanna add this especially to some of these green smoothies. We're going to go ahead and add in our greens here. And I might have to blend this up in stages because I don't know if all these greens is going to fit in this little small carafe here. But I'll do my best to make it fit. Alright, so I think I'm pretty full. We're going to go ahead and blend this, and we're going to go ahead and add the next step, or add more after we blend this initial one. Alright, now we're going to blend. Sometimes your mixture's thick, you may have to stop it and then, you know, pulse it a few times to get it to blend properly. Alright, the other thing I'd encourage you guys to do is not to overblend. So don't just like set it blend and then let it run for 5 minutes and come back, right? You're going to probably overblend the ingredients, and especially some of these valuable leafy greens in their fresh form have very delicate nutrients that may get oxidized in the blender. So yeah, don't overblend, very important. All right, now that we got the level down a little bit, I think we're gonna go ahead and add the rest of our greens, and then we're gonna come back for a final blending. All right, we have lots more room. Let's go ahead and add the rest of these greens. All right, that worked well. Got all the greens in there. I think we're gonna go ahead and add the rest of the coconut water, so that'll be a total of like 16 ounces of coconut water in here. The extra water will help it to blend a little bit better. All right, let's get blending. All right, finally we're gonna blend. Look at that nice green superfood smoothie coming right up. Can't wait to drink it. All right, here we go. Green smoothie, fresh from the garden. It's quite good. The NutriBullet, a bit underpowered, left lots of chunks, so I might go ahead and reblend it a little bit longer. But nonetheless, this is probably one of the best ways you guys could get your leafy green vegetables in you. And if you guys are really into making smoothies and stuff for health, I would encourage you guys to check out my other YouTube channel, youtube.com/rawfoods, where I'll be soon reviewing and recommending some of the new vacuum blending technology that allows you to maintain and keep more of the beneficial phytonutrients and phytochemicals in the items you're blending. Alright, so with that, that's pretty much the end of this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, learning how I use some of the different weeds and greens and herbs in my garden, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. That'll encourage me to do more recipe videos and show you guys how I use the food that I grow, because every day I'm making some kind of recipe. Most days I'm just too lazy to film them for you guys, because some of the recipes I make can be quite intricate and involved, and some days I'm just in the kitchen for an hour making my dinner. And some days I just don't feel like filming anything for you guys. But today I thought I'd do that because it's so important for me to show you guys about the power of the greens. In any case, that'll do it for this episode. Please also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on any of my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out about every 3 to 4 days. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 1,250 videos at this time, educating and sharing with you guys all aspects on how you guys can grow the highest quality food at home. Also be sure to check that link down below. I'll put a link to the playlist where I actually have a lot of the different videos where I actually make things out of my garden. I do have several handfuls of videos already doing this already, and I hope to make more if that's what you guys are looking for. So with that, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.